there, guys, and today we are reacting to History of Japan. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right to it. Let's go. Copyright disclaimer. History of Japan. Portrayed by Simple Sunbox 2. Was that Eagle? Oh, here we go.
The appearance of the first human inhabitants in the Japanese archipelago dates back to the Paleolithic, approximately 35,000 years ago.
What?
During the Gemun period, between 11,000 and 500 BC, the inhabitants developed a type of pottery considered the oldest in the world.
Oh.
In 660 BC, the reign of Jin Tenno began. However, there is no evidence that he really existed, so it is only a legend.
Wait a minute, who the hell is leading us?
I don't know.
During the Meiji period, Japan began to have trade relations with Korea and gave rise to agriculture and the use of metals for tools. For this reason, society would be divided into chiefs and clans that gained power.
We had to kill the other clans and eat them.
Between the year 300 and 710, the Kofun period would pass, in which a clan called Yamato would emerge that imitated the constitutional model of China.
Today we will get high and learn about Buddha.
From the year 710, the ancient era would begin, giving rise to the narrow period, in which Buddhism and Confucianism would become popular, and when the oldest book in Japan was also written, the Kejiki.
Stop writing this shit and come play with us.
Bro.
Here we go again.
Then would follow the period from the year 745 to 1185, which is characterized by the rise of literature and art.
Lot thinks he's
Music and poetry had a golden age, and Shinto and Buddhist shrines became centers of the country's cultural life. On the other hand, the capital of that time was moved to present-day Kyoto, an event that would last almost a millennium. At this time, the new feudal society began to take shape in Japan, in which the imperial family would begin to lose power with the growth of very powerful clans, such as the Fujiwara clan, that managed to control Japan. Feudal lords called daimyos began hiring samurai to protect them from approaching battles.
How much? One octopus.
Every samurai had to follow a code of conduct called Bushido, which established that samurai must die for their feudal lords. The peace agreement would end up disappearing after the Genpei Wars broke out, where the Tara and Minamoto clans would clash.
Oh my gosh, Genpei War was so brutal in its Japanese history.
The victory belonged to the Minamoto clan, and after coming to power, they established the first shogunate. This would begin the Kamakura period from 1185 to 1333, considered the beginning of the medieval period in Japan.
Yeah.
This period is characterized by the absolute establishment of the samurai and by the invasion attempts by the Mongols.
Mongols?
By a typhoon.
Ooh, typhoon.
The second medieval period was the Muromachi period, which lasted until 1573. Here Japan was divided into two empires, the northern and the southern, until the third shogun managed to reconcile both sides.
What the?
Being separated is gay.
It was here that
Hey,
Japan
yo,
discovered
what?
the West, especially Portugal and the Netherlands.
Did someone say spices?
The division had collapsed the ancient orders, demonstrating the warrior and peasant strength. The feudal system managed to enter another phase of absolute apogee in which, after a long civil war, the country was divided into more than 200 independent kingdoms. All this chaos produced the appearance of the enormous figure of Oda Nobunaga. He would become known as one of the three great unifiers of Japan. The other two were Toyotomi Hideyoshi and Tokugawa Ieyasu. Next would come the Edo period from 1603 to 1868, which would begin with a change of capital to Edo. This city would manage to become a great metropolis in a short time.
Okay.
Starting in 1630, the country began to be isolated, in which no one could enter or leave, and commercial relations abroad were limited.
Hey bro, would you be interested in buying me some spices?
Return your country, motherfucker.
At As a consequence of the isolation, Christians were persecuted and foreigners were deported or confined to islands.
Oh my
For 2
god.
centuries, the pressures on Japan to open up to the world started to increase, and discontent over isolation began to grow.
It smells like shit in here.
In
Bro.
1853, Commodore Matthew Perry's American fleet stood in front of the port of Tokyo with an ultimatum.
Someone told us that they have oil here.
Where's the fucking oil?
America.
You have 2 options. Open trade abroad so I can expand my empire, or I will open your head with my shotgun.
At that moment, Japan understood that isolation had impeded its development and that it would not be able to compete against world powers.
Yes, sir.
It was then that the Treaty of Kanagawa was signed in 1854, and after 2 centuries,
Treaty of
the country
Kanagawa.
began its commercial opening. Japan recognized its weakness, and new concerns arose.
I don't understand what he's saying.
Period known as Bakumatsu began, in which 2 very different sides clashed. On one side were the supporters of opening to the outside world, led by Tokugawa Ieyasu. And on the other hand were the supporters of the shoguns, led by Ieyasu.
Ooh.
In 1868, both parties
Boshinwa.
faced each other in the Boshin War. The war had its origins in the dissatisfaction among many nobles and young samurai with the
1896.
treatment of foreigners by the government as a result of
I
the
mean
opening of Japan in the Pacific.
1898 to
The military advantage
1890.
quickly shifted to the relatively modernized
I
imperial
mean,
side, and after a series of battles, they culminated in the surrender of
1869.
Mexico.
I don't know.
After a
I'm
year
so
of
bad
war,
at
the
English.
imperialist faction
But I'm
triumphed
so
and
good at
Japan
English.
passed
I just.
1867,
Oh,
ending isolation of the shoguns.
Ooh, roll like Shrek.
The period was over. The Japanese modern age would begin, more specifically the Meiji Restoration, which meant a great change in the country, such as the total opening to the West and
I'm
the
a
disappearance
rookie.
of the feudal
I'm a
lords,
rookie.
who were replaced by
I'm just
royalty.
a rookie American. Bro.
After this, a government council was formed to apply the new reforms. Among them was the creation of its current currency, or the change of name from
Yen?
Edo to Tokyo.
Tokyo.
This modernization also went through a time of military expansion, where Japan was intimidated as it did not want to end up being a Western colony.
Western colony.
At that time, Japan began to have conflicts with neighboring countries.
You better give me full control of Korea.
What the? He's Chinese.
Don't understand what you're saying.
Japan would become a colonial power, with new territories such as Korea and Taiwan. At the end of the 19th century, a realization would take place in Japan in which the first railway line was created that would forever change the way of life of the Japanese.
Hitman train collision.
After the death of Emperor Mutsuhito,
No.
Emperor Taisho succeeded him, thus beginning the contemporary age. Here the Taisho period would begin, which stands out for Japan's participation in the First World War, in which Japan supported the Triple Entente.
You all have all my support. Now give me my new territory.
Okay, the only condition is that you send us supplies on the battlefront.
Okay, whatever. Move.
Japan was happy with the German colonies granted to it by its alliance. However, when the British asked for naval support in the Pacific, the Japanese decided to send only a couple of destroyers and avoid getting too involved.
It's time to keep working.
Japan's lack of collaboration in the war did not please the British very much, and when the Treaty of Versailles was signed, concessions to Japan were non-existent, something Japan will never forget. At the end of the war, the political situation in Japan was lamentable, and if it was not enough, an earthquake would
Wait,
occur.
Kanato earthquake.
100,000 dead.
Oh my
After the
gosh.
death of Emperor Taisho, the new Emperor Hirohito would come to power.
Hirohito.
During this period known as Showa, Japan had to live, like Germany, through a horrible time of instability and fear due to the threat of communism. The
Communism.
Japanese were resentful of foreign powers and reproached them for occupying their areas of influence. So Japan invaded Manchuria in the Second Sino-Japanese War.
Second Sino-Japanese War. Second.
In 1940, the alliance with the Axis became a reality, and a year later
Axis.
Japan would enter World War II.
World War II.
It was then that Japan carried out a surprise air attack on the Pearl Harbor naval base.
Attack on Pearl Harbor, 1942. Battle between Empire of Japan and United States of America.
This attack caused damage to the American naval fleet, which would prompt the USA to enter the war. Thus began the Pacific
Yeah.
War, in which the Americans progressively took the lead, as in the Battle of Midway or the Battle of Leyte.
The bombings.
Our army is in pieces, but we will not give up.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Bombings of Hiroshima. Bombings of Hiroshima, 1945.
How about now?
No.
Nagasaki, 1945. Bro, what? Oh, he's depressed.
Give up. Stop it.
GGEZ.
The bombs left the country sunk, leaving an indelible stain and a balance of more
Yeah.
than 150,000 dead.
Yeah.
After Japan's surrender, it would be occupied for the first time by Allied forces. However, everything would change positively when democracy arrived in 1947 and the absolute monarchy was eliminated, although the figure of the empire remained as a symbol. Hirohito would decide not to abdicate.
Oh,
causing great discontent among the
she hates him. Oh my gosh.
A few decades later, Japan would go through a great period of prosperity in its economy that managed to achieve the much-desired global recognition. Although the boom would stagnate in the 90s after the financial crisis and the growth of unemployment.
Stop kicking me for no reason.
Hello, I want to work by Casio, please.
This is how the Heisei period would begin,
Oh, yeah.
from 1989 to 2019, when there was a great cultural explosion in Japan that would be reflected in the world, with the boom of their famous video games, its large amount of anime, and the best of all, the musical artists, which
Oh,
would bring us
yeah.
back to the present, the Regal period.
That make Japan happy. Alright guys, so now that's all now. Goodbye.